Okay, we're recording now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Ann Steiber. I'm the designated hearing officer. Also present are Commissioners Belletto and McKinney. This is a continuation of the Grand Cafe remonstrance that initiated back in on November 4th. I just remind everyone, this is a continuation, so all of you who were sworn in, you remain sworn in. If there are any witnesses that are going to be called that have not yet been sworn in, I can do that at that time. At this point, I will turn it over to you, Attorney Matteo.
It's okay. Thank you, Hearing Officer Steiber. The commission, the Department of Consumer Protection doesn't have any other witnesses to call at this point. My recollection is that the agent for the remonstrance had called some witnesses, and where we had left off is members of the public who had participated. Everyone who wanted to testify at the last hearing had already testified. So that's where we stopped, and I will note that the agent for the remonstrance did submit another document when I sent the reminder for this hearing that she wants to introduce potentially as an exhibit. But other than that, I don't know of any other witnesses that are intending to testify for the remonstrance. So I believe, unless you want to handle the potential exhibit first, we can go to Attorney Crow.
We can go forward and just deal with the exhibit and then turn it over to Attorney Crum. So Ms. Dubois-Walton, is there an exhibit you wanted to enter before we turn it over to Attorney Crum?
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to continue with the presentation. There was submitted a PDF that included written testimony from neighbors and constituents in the area. So I submit an email document from a Ms. Elizabeth Flournoy that also supports verbal testimony that she provided in the first hearing, a written letter from Ms. Gabriela Radushko, an email from Mr. Leonardo Battapaglia, and an email from Dr. Bindu Benapali. And I would ask that these be submitted as exhibits with their raising continued concerns about the establishment.
And just for the record, at the previous hearing, the remonstrance entered 16 exhibits that were admitted into the record. So if this were to be admitted, it would be exhibit 17.
Okay. We can so mark this as exhibit 17.
Thank you.
Okay.
And with that, we have no one else we call. I would hope to reserve moments at the end for closing arguments.
There will be the opportunity for closing statements.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Attorney Crum, let me turn it over to you now.
Thank you. And thank you to the commissioners for an opportunity to be heard. We appreciate your time. At this time, I'd like to call Mr. Jose Rivera, co-owner of the Grand Cafe. He sits to my right.
Okay.
I believe he's already been sworn in last time, but we'll just proceed. May I inquire?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Rivera, you are the co-owner of the Grand Cafe, correct?
Yes.
How long have you been a co-owner of the Grand Cafe?
2008.
Let me finish the question.
No, sorry.
And could you describe the building that the business is in?
Yes, I've been the owner since 2008, and we live in a strip mall, and there's 3 other businesses there.
What are the other businesses in the strip mall?
The Golden Walk, Pizza Plus, and a smoke shop.
Okay. Does the smoke shop have a name, or is that the name of the
That's
smoke
the name. Smoke Market, they call it.
So the smoke market is where in relation to your
Right
business?
next door.
And does it have a different owner?
Yes.
And what are the hours of the smoke shop?
They're open from, I say, 9 o'clock until 12.
9 o'clock in the
In the
morning,
morning to 12, yeah.
12 in the evening,
No, at night.
at night. Pizza Plus, does it have a different owner as well?
No, same owners. They just use that as storage because they moved down the street on Grand Avenue.
They moved the pizza ovens
Right.
down the street, but Pizza Plus still uses it
Yeah,
for
right.
storage.
Storage, yeah.
Is there a different owner from the smoke shop and the Grand Cafe? Or do they have the same owner,
No, they're different owners.
a different owner? And what are the hours of the Pizza Plus place?
They're closed, the same, but they just come there once in a while to put in stuff or take out stuff.
And the Chinese Wok, is that the same owner as the Grand Cafe or a different owner?
Oh, no. Everybody does, same owners for all the stores.
Okay, the same owner
Yeah,
for the
For
building,
the building.
but I'm talking about the business.
Oh, no,
itself.
they're different owners.
Okay, and what are the hours of the Chinese Wok?
I say from 11 to, it used to be 1 o'clock, but nowadays, since everything's going on, it's about 11 now.
Okay, 11 at night.
And yeah,
Would it be fair to say that their businesses are opening about the same time as yours?
well, I open at 12 o'clock,
And,
and they're already open.
okay. Now, does the building have a parking lot?
Yes,
Does the parking lot belong to Grand Cafe or does it belong to the building?
it belongs to the building itself.
Are you assigned any particular parking spots?
No, we're not.
So anybody that visits one of those 4 businesses can use the parking lot.
Right.
Now, how long has the Grand Cafe been open?
Since
So-
2008, since I owned it, 2008, but the bar's been there over 40 years.
Would it be fair to describe it as part of the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Now, do you have regular customers,
Yes.
PPC every day?
Yeah, every day, same people. It's like Cheers.
Cheers, the television show
television show.
where everybody knows your name?
Yeah, everybody knows everybody's name.
How many employees does the Grand Cafe have?
We have 6.
And are those full-time, part-time?
We got 2 people full-time, the other ones are part-time.
Okay. Now, we just went through 2020 where there was a shutdown for COVID. Were you guys shut down for COVID?
Yes, we were shut down for about 9 months.
And that was a result of
The
orders.
COVID, yeah, over from the state.
Now, did you keep on your employees during that time?
No, I couldn't because, making no money, but I still helped them out when they needed help.
How did you help them out when they needed help?
Well, I gave them, they needed food, I gave them food, or a couple of dollars to buy food, to help themselves out,
So you're helping out your employees during
Yes.
COVID. And did you pay all your rent during
yeah.
COVID?
Yes,
Did you pay all your taxes?
yes,
You pay your comp insurance and your insurance for the place?
yes,
Did you take out a small business loan?
no,
Do you have a loan from the bank?
no,
Okay. During that time, did you perform any kind of community food bank functions?
no,
Are you in good standing with your landlord?
yes,
You paid all the rent you owe, correct?
correct.
So you're current through December of
Right,
2021.
right,
At this time, I submitted an email from a Carol Leung, Leung. The date of the email was October 29th, 2021. I'd like that submitted into the record.
I'm sharing it now with everyone. Let me just make sure.
We can make that remonstrant A.
I think it would be respondent A.
Respondent, okay.
Okay, we'll so mark that.
I just note for the record that Ms. Young just notes the Grand Cafe is a longstanding tenant, and they have always been tenants who are reliable and punctual with their rent.
Okay, thank you.
During the time you have been involved with the Grand Cafe, Mr. Rivera, has the liquor license ever been suspended or revoked?
no,
Are you aware of the liquor license being suspended or revoked for the Grand
No.
Cafe? And again, you said they were there for almost 40 years, correct?
right,
Are you in compliance with all zoning regulations?
Yes,
Have you had any trouble with the zoning departments or the health departments of New
none whatsoever.
Haven? Now, during the COVID shutdown, you guys made renovations, is that correct?
Correct.
What sort of renovations did you make?
Well, we made put in new floors, tiles, fixed the bathroom, vanities, mirrors. We made because we got a horseshoe bar, and we made for the COVID that they told us to put the plexiglass around the whole bar, comply with that, you know.
Okay, so you were in there doing renovations, but
Right.
you weren't open for business.
Right.
Okay, now, the Grand Cafe does some community involvement, is that correct?
Yes.
You guys have a softball team, is that
Yes.
correct? Tell us a little bit about the softball team.
Well, we sponsor softball. This is our first year that we did it, you know, and before whatever happened here, we had a softball game at Chapel Street Park. And everybody came down, played, had a good time. Then we went back to the bar, we ate and drank, you know.
Okay,
And we also have I sponsor a team in Hartford. It's called La Liga, the Amigos Liga in Hartford. That we comply to sponsoring them up there
could you
for the
tell,
past 5 years.
could you tell the commission about La Liga? What's it about?
It's a big league, you know. It's United. It's like a Roberto Clemente league out there, and it's very popular out there in Hartford. So they asked us if we want to comply to the league, a team from New Haven. So we was the first team out of the, you know, from New Haven to go into that league. You know, we've been in there. This will be our 6 years being there, and this year we just won the tournament. You know, so we do go there. You know, say we do spend money. You know,
Right.
we do contribute.
You also have a pool league, is that correct?
Yes.
Could you tell the commission about the pool league?
Yeah, we had different bars come to the bar, and we go to other bars to play them also.
Now, just to clarify, when I say pool, I don't mean the pool that you swim in. I mean
Pool table.
like pool
Yeah.
with cues. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you also done community outreach during Halloween?
Yes.
What'd you do?
Well, we set up a table this year. We gave out costumes and candies
Who'd you give costumes and candies to?
to whoever came to the bar.
Neighborhood
plaza.
children?
Yes.
Now, during Thanksgiving, did you feed
Oh,
people in there?
like I said, we throw a spread inside the bar. Whoever comes in the bar or from outside, and they're hungry, we feed them. We do it every year.
Now you
You
do it,
know, and we do it every holidays.
so Easter, Christmas?
Yes. New Year's.
Now, I'm gonna back you up just a second, Mr. River. You guys have an accountant, correct?
Yes, you do.
And have you ever had trouble with your accounting?
No,
The liquor commissioner's never asked you about your accounting.
no,
What about with regards to control of the liquor itself? You ever had any problems with that?
never. We're up to date with all payments.
Okay, now, we've heard testimony from various community members. One was Lieutenant Fulminati from the New Haven Police Department.
Right.
Have you ever spoken with Lieutenant Fulminati?
Yes, I have.
When did you speak with him?
I spoke to him right before we had our first meeting here. And he parked out there when the people were out there at the smoke shop doing their thing. So I went out there, I was cleaning out the parking lot with the blower. So I went up to him and told him, I mean, it's nice that you guys come down and get rid of these guys. But the only problem that we have is once you leave, they come right back and do their thing. You know, they just out there constantly. And they threatened me already. They said, we gotta get rid of the owner. You know, so I feel threatened for my life.
Now, did Lieutenant Fulminati have some recommendations for you?
You say we're short of cops.
Did he make recommendations on things you could do to the bar?
No, he
Yeah.
never visit. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. There was Lieutenant Johnson you spoke with before him, is that correct?
Oh yes, Lieutenant Johnson it was awesome. He used to come to the bar and ask you, is everything okay? What can we do to help you guys out? And I would, just sit down with him and talk to him. I mean, he would come down like every week, or sometimes twice a week just to talk to me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Now, did he make recommendations on what you can do?
Well, yeah, he said to try to keep the trouble out of here. You know what I'm saying? And we complied with everything that he told me. We did.
Okay, did he tell you to put a magnet lock on the door?
Yes,
Did you put a magnet lock
Yes.
on the door?
yes.
What does the magnet lock do?
That means keeps people from coming in or out if there's trouble.
So if there's trouble, somebody hits a button and
You
it
hit the
locks the
button,
door.
it locks, you can't open the door.
Okay. You guys also card people who come into your bar, check their
Yes.
ID,
Yes,
and do you wand for weapons? You
yes,
know?
yes, we do.
Okay, so you have one of those
Yeah,
wands, like
yeah, yes.
you check for weapons.
Right.
Okay. Now, with regards to the landlord, has the landlord taken any measures that you're aware of?
Well, she put up cameras.
And what do the cameras do?
Well, I mean, they can see everything.
Who's they?
The Union Avenue police station. They can zoom in and see everything that goes on in that parking lot.
So are the cameras connected to the police station, is
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes. They have access to them.
Did the landlord put up some no loitering signs as well?
Yes.
Now, we've heard a lot of testimony about what goes on in the parking lot. Does that parking lot belong to the Grand Cafe in any way?
No, it's called a Pequot Plaza. It's not the Grand Cafe Plaza or parking lot. It's called a Pequot Plaza originally. That's the real name of that plaza, Pequot.
Okay, and so the Pequot Plaza is where
That's where the parking
The
lot
parking
is.
lot is.
Yes. That's all the
Are-
stores are at too.
are you responsible for taking care of any upkeep in that parking lot? Or are you been assigned spots or anything like that?
No, I just clean my spot out. Whatever's dirty on my side, I clean up. I pick up. She has somebody else to clean up. I got somebody to plow the place during the wintertime snowstorm. I got somebody to plow that.
But besides the plowing, the landlord is responsible. For the
Right,
parking
right.
lot. Okay, now, we've heard a lot of testimony about what goes on in the parking lot. Have any of the patrons or employees been involved in that, in the parking lot that you're aware of?
No.
And from what's going on, can you tell me when it started?
It started when the smoke shop got there. And that's the biggest problem we had so far. Because even like you asked me earlier about when we were closed at COVID, they were open. And the people were still out there and were closed. And they're still going after me. For what reason we're closed?
So you guys were closed during COVID, but
Right.
the problems in
The
the parking
problem
lot
still was outside.
Now, have you ever confronted the people in the parking lot?
Oh, of course.
Okay, and what happens as a result?
Okay. They don't listen. They
And you-
just threatened me. They said we gotta get rid of the owner.
have you ever contacted the police?
We tried numerous times.
And then what
and
happens?
They just hang up the phone on us.
Now, when the police do come, what happens?
They don't do nothing. The guys leave and the cops leave and then they come right back.
So the people in the parking lot leave when the police come around?
Yes.
And then when the police leave,
They got somebody on
continue
a
their
bicycle.
patrol?
They got somebody on a bicycle that goes around the lot or around the corner and see if the cops left. Then they start calling everybody and everybody comes back.
Okay, are you involved in any way with those people?
No, I'm not.
You'd be happy if they just disappeared one day.
Well, certainly.
Now, with regards to the community members, would you be willing to sit down and talk to them?
Of course, if they come to and visit me or call me, because they have my number, they could come and talk to me at the bar, phone, whatever.
Are you there every day?
Yes, I am. 8:00 in the morning.
Now, when they started protesting, did you try to speak with them?
I tried. They didn't want to listen.
Has there ever been any gang trouble in the area that you're aware of?
No.
Now, with regards to the neighborhood, has there been trouble in the neighborhood recently, not involved or around the Grand Cafe?
Well, there's always trouble in the neighborhood, but it doesn't comply to us.
Okay,
you know.
what's happened? You
Oh,
mentioned
they
something happened.
shooting, stabbing, selling drugs,
Where was that?
prostitution.
Where was
It's all over the neighborhood.
It's not necessarily localized to the Grand Cafe
No.
or that area.
No.
So you mentioned you've been threatened, correct?
Yes.
Does that make you afraid to speak up?
Well, of course, sometimes, because I don't want. I got my daughters at home. They go to school. I got to be there for them.
Now, I've heard there was some police reports that mentioned that somebody would come into the bar and have to pay $2. Who was that, or what's that about?
That's you just can't come in my establishment without buying something to drink, to hang out. You can't hang out there. You know what I'm saying? You can't use the bathroom. If you gotta use the bathroom, you gotta pay $2. You want to play pool, you gotta pay buy liquor or pay $2. You know what I'm saying?
And the $2 is for what?
It's for it goes into the register.
They get
Yes.
they get a juice or
Yeah,
something
they get
like
juice, they get soda, water, whatever.
that? Now you mentioned recently, was there an attempt to break in at your establishment?
Yes.
When was that?
This past Monday.
Okay. How did they try to get in?
They tried to go through the front door, they broke the lock.
When did that happen? Was it in the morning or in the afternoon?
About I got on the phone at 4:30 in the morning. They did that.
So you were closed.
Yeah, we were closed at the time.
Okay. Were the police contacted?
No.
So just to repeat, within the last, since 2008, you've never had trouble getting your liquor license renewed?
No.
And how often do you get your liquor license renewed?
Once a year.
And you never had trouble before?
Never.
I have nothing further for Mr. Rivera at this time.
Okay, Commissioner McKinney, do you have any questions? I think you're on mute.
Oh, my apologies. No questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Beletto, do you have any questions?
Yes, I think one of the earlier testimonies we heard is that there was possibly some drug paraphernalia or drug bags and other drug possible holding bags and other stuff found in the basement of your establishment on a windowsill. How was that possible for somebody to get into your basement? And
That's not possible because there's no windowsills there in the basement.
okay, but that was from a police
There's
report.
only
I
stairs.
remember.
There's only stairs. You go downstairs. That's it. There's no windows there.
So what were the police talking about in the police report then?
Well, I don't have no idea. I have no idea about that one. Because there's no windowsills in the basement. You yourself could come down there and see for yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Dubois, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner McKinney.
Yeah, thank you. I actually do have a question. So, Mr. Rivera, you're the co-owner of the Grand Cafe,
Yes.
and who is the other owner?
Mr. Cruz Vasquez,
Okay.
committee.
Okay, and you had indicated that the remonstrance had indicated and put into evidence a number of police reports. I believe you answered a question from your attorney that none of your employees or people who work at the bar have been involved in any of the police incidents. Is that your testimony?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, but our exhibit 2 from the remonstrance indicates that was it your son who was a bartender who was arrested for selling drugs?
No,
So does your son work at the Grand Cafe?
my son did work at the Grand Cafe at one time in the beginning.
Okay, and when he worked there, was he ever arrested?
Yeah, he got arrested for fighting with his wife. Because he was Mr. Casanova arrested him. Lieutenant Casanova arrested him.
Okay, but he was not charged with selling drugs.
No.
Okay. And is it your testimony today that when you were closed down during COVID, that the activity in the parking lot outside of the Grand Cafe that the remonstrants and witnesses have seen was unchanged? When you're open and when you're closed, the activity in that parking lot is the same?
It's gotten worse outside.
It's gotten worse
Yes, since we opened up.
since you opened up again?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Dubois Walton, do you have any questions?
Yes, I was pleased to hear how familiar the owner is with the customers. So everyone knows each other's names. So can you tell us who Kano or Canito is? C-A-N-O?
No,
Who is referred to as that?
I don't know.
Okay. Is that a nickname of somebody whose father owns the bar?
No,
Okay. Do you know Indio?
nope.
Okay. The incident that was described by the commissioner happening on Saturday, September 9th, 2017. The police report is actually not a windowsill. The paraphernalia that was found is on the top of a ledge adjacent to the stairs in the basement. So
Well, yeah,
I would ask the same question that the commissioner asked, is how could that possibly happen in your bar in a non-public space?
Yeah, there's a door there. And I mean, anybody could have access to it, but I mean, they're not supposed to go on there, you know? So when they're a bartender, probably attending a customer, someone would just open the door and put it there. That's the only way I can figure. But there's no windowsill. There's a 2x4 there for the sheetrock. That's one of the sheetrock.
Okay. Are you familiar with the community management team for Fairhaven?
No,
Are you familiar with the Grand Avenue Business District?
no.
Okay. And just to clarify, did you say that the first time you spoke to Lieutenant Fumiati was at the event when residents were in the parking lot?
Well, as soon as he parked there, they left. That's when I approached him and started talking to him about the situation that's going on in the parking lot.
Okay, that was your first conversation with Lieutenant Fumiati?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you.
If I may ask some follow-up on those questions.
Okay,
Mr. Rivera, I just want to make it clear, you're responsible for the day-to-day operations of the Grand Cafe, correct?
Yes,
And you're there every day?
every day.
Okay, now you testified that the parking lot situation has gotten worse. I don't think you answered the question though you were asked. While the Grand Cafe was closed, did the activity in the parking lot continue?
Yes, it did.
Did it abate? Did it get less, or did it remain the same as it was
No,
before?
it stood the same.
And with regards to this incident with the bags that everybody keeps pointing to, that was back in 2017. Is that correct?
That's what they say.
Okay. And these people they refer that Dr. Dubois Watson referred to, Kano, Cinto, Indio, they weren't anybody you know, correct?
Correct.
And they didn't work for the bar,
No.
correct? Never had anybody work there for
No.
with those names
No.
or nicknames. Okay, and that was back in 2016. Is that correct?
Yeah.
If the police report
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah, the police report says that.
And you're at the Grand Cafe every day.
Every day, 8 o'clock.
Nothing further.
okay, thank you. If you'd like to call your next, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Kinney?
Thank you. Can I just follow up? Because I was, and I had referenced, just for Mr. Rivera's purposes and his attorneys, I had referenced what was the remonstrance exhibit 2, which mentioned a Kano or a Kano as a bartender and a son of the owner. So is he, just for clarification, is he a son of the other owner since there are 2 owners?
No. The other owner, I have a son. He got a daughter.
So did you ever, were you familiar with this police report when it was filed?
No,
What have you, all of the police reports that were submitted from, the first one was August 13th of 2016. I believe the last one that was put into evidence was September 7th of 2021. Have you looked at any of these police reports when they're filed?
well, that last police report that it was September.
He just asked you if you looked at them.
Oh, no, I haven't.
So I'm just curious. You've been the owner since 2008.
Right.
The remonstrants have submitted into the record multiple police reports. I don't know if that's all of the police reports that have been filed, but these are reports, police reports that have been filed about activities either in your facility, in your bar, or just outside your bar, and you've never looked at any of the police reports?
No.
So you don't know if the activities in the police reports really happened, or if there's incorrect information?
Well, I actually didn't look at the report itself, written report. You know, when I was told by the bartenders what happened that day.
So were you ever told that there was someone named Kano who was a bartender who was arrested?
I never had a bartender named Kano ever been arrested.
And were you ever told that someone would have to pay $2 in order to buy narcotics?
I made that rule. That you have to come in the bar. You can't just come in there and hang out. You're not gonna hang out in the bar.
Okay, I'm sure you're.
It's a neighborhood bar.
I think that question was in our,
You know,
I apologize. I don't think he understood it.
No, I understand. I understand his answer was not, but I understand that.
Yeah.
So just, and I think you know where I'm going. There was information in a police report that indicated that people said that in order to buy narcotics outside of the Grand Cafe, they needed to go in and pay $2 to go in. And I'm asking, Mr. Rivera, if he was ever told that.
no, that's not true.
Okay. And, okay, so you never looked at any of the police reports. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Like
Thank
every
you.
other witness.
Attorney Crowd, if you call your next witness.
Thank you. Just a moment. Good afternoon. Could you introduce yourself to the committee?
Name is Rodney Rivera,
Could you tell them where you live?
26 West Street, New Haven, Connecticut.
Where is that in relation to the Grand Cafe?
That's in the hill.
Are you within, how close is it? You
7 minutes.
just
driving.
keep your voice up so they can
7
hear.
minutes driving distance.
And you are employed as a barback at
Yes,
Grand Cafe, correct?
correct.
How long have you worked there as a barback?
8, maybe 9 years.
What are your duties as a barback?
Oh, I clean up in the mornings when I get there. I help pretty much everything, clean the front, the back.
Do you stock liquor?
Oh, yes, also.
You shovel snow?
Yes, I do.
Approximately how many days a week do you work there?
3
And what are your hours?
from 12 to 5.
Now, you mentioned you've worked there for about 6 or 7 years, correct?
Correct.
During your time there, has any employee ever been arrested for selling narcotics out of the Grand
Never
Cafe?
since I've been.
Are you aware of any of these names they continue to bring up?
No.
Kano or Cinto? Or,
None at all.
Okay, so to the best of your knowledge, no one's ever been arrested out of the Grand Cafe for selling narcotics.
Not while I was
No employees, correct?
correct.
Now, were you working there this Halloween?
No,
Okay. With regards to the activity,
excuse me. I mean, I stopped in, but I didn't.
what were they doing on Halloween? Do you remember?
Yes, they had a couple spreads out,
Spreads as in food?
as in food, yes.
Okay. Were they giving costumes away?
I really can't say, I wasn't paying attention.
Okay. Now, you're familiar with the building and the parking lot, correct?
Correct.
Does the activities in the parking lot have anything to do with the patrons or employees of the Grand Cafe?
None,
Okay, you're not
No.
personally involved in that,
no. Sorry.
okay? If any of those people happen to come into the bar, what would your duties be?
Prevent it from them coming in.
So you're to stop them from coming in?
Yes,
And that comes from Mr. Rivera?
yes.
Okay,
While he's going, if he's out running, doing a urine, errand, I wouldn't be there.
have you ever asked people to leave the bar?
I've had, yes.
How did you feel while you were doing that? Was it scary?
No, not at all.
Okay. Now, with regards to the activity in the parking lot, before the Grand Cafe opens, are there activities in the parking lot?
Yeah, before the bar's open, outside.
So they're there when you get there,
Yes,
and the bar opens at noon?
yes.
Have you seen transactions happen in the parking lot?
Plenty of times.
Okay, have you contacted the police?
It's not my thing I do, but I let him know, Jose.
You let Jose Rivera know.
Yes.
Is
And if
that,
they're hanging out front, I would ask them to move down. So whatever they do, that's their business, but don't do it in front of the bar.
okay? So you've asked them to leave.
Yes.
Now, when the police come around, what do those people in the parking lot do?
Oh, they scatter.
Do they scatter when the police officer gets there or before?
While he pulls up.
Okay,
Yes.
and do they come back?
Yes, they do.
When do they come back?
5, 10 minutes, whenever he's gone.
And so as the officer patrols by, they leave,
Correct.
and then when he's gone on with his patrol, they come back.
Correct. Immediately.
Are you aware of the magnetic lock on the door?
Yes, I am.
What does that do?
Stops them from coming in if they're into beefing out there or whatever is going on. They see a police officer pull in, excuse me, and they would try to go into the bar. And we won't allow them.
You use the magnetic lock to stop that.
Yes, we do.
So you don't let them in the bar.
Because we see what's going on. We know what they have on their persons, and we don't have that.
Now, as a barback, you're familiar with the policy that anybody who comes in has to buy something, correct?
Yes.
And
Yes. Even myself when I'm off.
so when you come in, you have to
Well, I
buy
buy a
some.
beer too. But
You
yeah,
buy a
I
beer?
understand the rules there.
So the $2 is for what?
For them to have a beverage, not to just hang out,
Okay, so it'd be a juice or a soda or something.
whatever it may be.
So there's just no hanging out in the bar. You can't just
Could
come
be
in
a
and
Red
sit in.
Bull, whatever.
Okay. All right, and just to reiterate again, as long as you've been involved with the Grand Cafe, no employee has been arrested for
None that I've seen.
nothing further, Mr. Rivera.
Okay, Commissioner Boletto, do you have any questions? Commissioner Boletto, you're on mute.
That was a good question too.
How long has the magnetic lock been on the door?
It doesn't stay on until they hit the button and open it back up.
No, how long has it been installed?
Wow. Couple of years.
Okay.
I say.
And how long have you been there?
About 8 years.
Okay. And have you seen either of the owner's sons as bartenders in the?
His oldest son in the beginning,
Okay. And what is his name?
Jose Rivera.
Okay. Is there a nickname attached to that?
No.
I'm sorry, did you say no?
No,
Okay.
I call him by his name.
Do other people call him by a different name?
I never heard it. I hear everybody call him Jose.
Okay. Is there a son-in-law or someone else related to the owners that bartends or has bartended in the past?
No, not that I recall, no.
Okay.
Son-in-law?
I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner McKinney, any questions?
Yes, just, I also want to ask about the magnetic lock because I'm a little confused. So the magnetic lock keeps the door closed from people being able to come in or out. Is that what it does?
Yeah, you hit the button, automatic locks.
Okay, and is that lock always on?
No, it's off. It only goes on if you hit the button.
Okay, and so, and you would be the person who would hit the button usually? No.
No, I don't go behind the bar.
Okay, so the magnetic lock is behind the bar, and whoever uses the bartender, assuming, would use it. What would be an instance why a bartender would use it? Or have you seen a bartender use it, and why did he or she use it?
Yes, I've seen it because he see what's going on and he would hit it so they wouldn't come in.
So from inside the bar, you can see the people who are outside.
Yes, clear as day.
Okay, so the bartender would be able to tell whether someone wanted to come in who was a customer versus someone who wanted to come in who was a troublemaker in the parking lot?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Walton, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rivera. You indicated that when you see trouble happening, you see transactions happening in the parking lot, that it's not your thing to call the police. That you instead let I think you said you let the owner know about that. Do you know what happens when you notify the owner?
Well, he would call the police
And you've seen him call the police?
and wait and wait and wait till they get there. Yes.
Okay. And how often does that happen?
When it gets pretty crazy out there.
How often is that?
I'd say maybe twice a week, yeah.
So twice a week, there should be records of calls for services from the Grand Cafe to the New Haven Police Department?
Yes.
Okay. So if I were to tell you that there are no such records of calls for police twice a week coming from the Grand Cafe, would you have a response for that?
Yes, I would, because I've
Okay.
seen them make the call myself.
Okay. All right. But there's no corresponding police report for that. Okay. Thank you. I have no other questions.
I have one more follow-up question. So how often is the owner on site?
Well, he's there for about good 5-6 hours. He runs in and out, does his
Okay.
whatever he has to do.
When you say a good 5 or 6 hours, what time frame does that cover?
Well, he has to pick up his children from school.
Time. Give me a clock
2
time.
o'clock.
2 o'clock he's there or he leaves?
Well, he leaves, yes.
Okay. And then he comes back when?
Yes, he comes straight back.
And then what time is he there until?
So about 5:30.
Okay, so until 5:30. And the the store usually closes what time? I mean, the restaurant closes what time?
Well, about 1:30.
In the morning. So he's usually not there between 5 and 1:30 in the morning?
No,
Okay, so you call him where you call him at home to make those calls to the police?
pardon?
You make those calls to him at home to call the police?
I have.
Okay.
When they can't reach them, I have
I'm sorry, who can't reach who?
the bartenders.
Okay, you told me you don't call the police though, the owner
I
calls the
call
police.
him.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hearing officer Cyber, just a procedural question. Attorney Crowe, could either you or Mr. Rivera confirm that Mr. Rivera was put under oath at the first hearing and was testifying under oath at that?
I believe Mr. Rivera was put under oath. He was here at the first hearing.
Okay.
I had a group of people stand behind me that included Mr. Rivera, and they also.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that for the record. And to the best of your knowledge, are all the other witnesses that are you intend to call today, they were all at the first hearing and therefore would have been put under oath?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify that, hearing officer Steiber.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Attorney Crowe, if you want to call your next witness.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Could you introduce yourself to the panel?
Hi, my name is Julian Welch,
Mr. Welch, where do you live?
West Haven,
Whereabouts?
Bayshore Drive.
And you're a patron of the Grand Cafe?
Yes.
For approximately how long?
Maybe 6 years now, maybe 6 or 7 years.
How often are you there at the Grand Cafe?
At least maybe 5 to 6 days a week. But recently, I do volunteer work at night. I check people at the door, IDs, searches for weapons, whatever.
So you've been doing volunteer work
Yes.
for the Grand Cafe?
Yes.
Okay, but you're there
As a
every day?
patron, almost every day after work.
Okay, and what time do you get out of work?
About 3 or 4,
And approximately how long do you stay?
till about 7 or 8.
If you witness any activities in the parking lot, what do you do?
I'm in the bar. What happens out there, it's not my place. That's a police concern.
Okay. If you were to witness anything, would you tell one of the employees?
I would.
Could you describe the Grand Cafe? What's the atmosphere like?
Friendly. I've met so many new friends there. I learned different types of music. I've introduced different types of music to people. I'm a chef, so I picked up some catering gigs. So.
Is that your business? You're a caterer?
Oh, no, that's not my business. I actually work in the nursing.
Okay, so you kind of your side hustle is
Yes.
you do some catering gigs?
Yes.
So what do you do at the nursing home, by the way?
I'm a kitchen manager.
You're a chef?
Yes.
Okay. How would you describe the clientele of the Grand Cafe?
Working class, if not retired.
Are you familiar with most of the people in there?
Pretty much, yes.
So it's a place you know the people that are in there.
Yes.
You know the clientele.
Yes.
So you don't see too many new people in there usually.
Not too often, no.
Okay, so you describe it as a neighborhood bar?
Yep.
Okay. Were you involved with the softball team?
Yes.
How long did you play softball for the Grand Cafe?
I just played the game they played over at Chapel Park in New Haven, not too far.
Okay.
But I go up to Hartford and watch the game, support the team.
Are you a friend of Mr. Rivera's?
Yes.
You've been over to Mr. Rivera's house?
Yes.
Have you ever witnessed any of the employees or the patrons dealing drugs in the Grand Cafe?
No.
And you've been there for about 6 or 7 years as a patron?
Yep.
On an almost daily basis, correct?
Yep.
What's the neighborhood like around the Grand Cafe?
Pretty bad. Sometimes on my way from work to there, I encountered several violent acts. I actually broke up a fight one time by Seatown.
Where's Seatown?
Around the corner from the bar. It's the neighborhood grocery store.
Okay. Are you aware of other areas in the neighborhood where crime activity occurs?
Yeah, Ferry Street, there's always crime. There's drug selling, there's always shootings, there's lots of crime all over the neighborhood.
That's Ferry Street, you said?
Yes.
And that's part of Fairhaven?
Yep.
Which is the neighborhood of the Grand Cafe?
Yes.
Anything else about the Grand Cafe you'd like to tell the commission?
It's a neighborhood bar. I'm comfortable. I met Mr. Rivera through a mutual friend that I used to work with who passed recently. He said he was a good guy and we became very close friends.
Have you ever known Mr. Guerrero to be arrested or be involved in drug activity?
Never, not since I've, no.
Okay. Now you mentioned you're doing some volunteer work there. You're wanting people as they come in?
Wanting, checking IDs,
Okay.
patting down, everything.
Just making sure they don't have weapons?
Yep, weapons, drugs, anything.
If somebody did have those types of things, would they be allowed in?
No.
Are you aware of the magnetic lock on the
Yes.
door?
Yes.
Okay, when do they use that magnetic lock?
If there's any type of incident outside, if there's a fight or whatever, and everybody tries to scatter, or if you hear gunshots, you lock the door.
Have you been there when that happened?
I was there one time when there was a fight outside. And they locked the door. People tried to get in. They didn't let them in. You keep the patrons safe.
Thank you for being here. Nothing further.
Excuse me, Commissioner Boletto, any questions?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner McKinney?
Yes, thank you for appearing here today, Mr. Welsh. You were asked by Attorney Crow, I think I wrote down the question, if you had ever witnessed any employee or patron selling drugs inside the Grand Cafe, and I believe you said no. Have you ever witnessed any employee or patron selling drugs outside the Grand Cafe in that parking lot?
No.
Okay. And I believe you said that you've been a patron for around 5 or 6 years. So that would be sometime around 2016, 2017. The remonstrants in this case have introduced, I guess, about a dozen police reports of arrests that were made outside the Grand Cafe and that parking lot during that time period from 2016 to 2021. Were you ever present when any of those arrests occurred?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Dubois Walton?
Yes, thank you. Good to see you, Mr. Welch. Thank you for being here. When did you begin your volunteer work doing security?
Maybe within the last 3 months, right after the time when you came up to start protesting.
Okay. And what kind of training did you receive to be able to do security, wanding, patting people down?
I received no training.
No training. Okay.
But I am good at this de-escalating situation.
Okay.
Without violence.
Okay. And prior to you taking on that as a volunteer role, was there somebody who was playing that role at the bar?
There was. He's since passed.
Okay. And that person would be there nightly?
I just think on the weekends, as far as I remember.
Okay. Were you there the night recently where there was the raid and the underage minors were in the bar drinking?
No, I was not.
Okay, so you're not sure whether there was any security that day.
No.
And were you in the bar the evening of September 7th when the gentleman was shot in the parking lot?
No, I was not.
You weren't there that evening, so you're not sure whether there was any kind of security at that point?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you know the gentleman that was in the parking lot?
No.
That was shot in the parking lot?
No.
I was just gonna ask that. Specialized.
No, I mean, I do read the newspaper. I did see the incident, but no, I didn't know anyone.
Okay, understood.
Okay, thank you.
Sending me from this. Good afternoon, sir. Could you introduce yourself to the panel?
Yes, my name is Ephraim Perez.
And Mr. Perez, where do you live?
I live in New Haven, State Street, Cedar Hill.
You live in the
District.
area of the bar?
Yes,
You live in Fairhaven?
I live in, State Street, close to Hamden, New Haven town line.
You work at the Grand Cafe,
Yes, I am a barkeeper.
and what are your hours there?
We open at 12 noon and I'm there until 6 in the evening,
Is that every day?
6 days out the week.
And how long you've been working there?
About 4 years, about to be 5.
During your time there as a bartender, have you seen anyone dealing drugs in the bar?
Not in the bar. No,
Have you seen any employees get arrested for dealing drugs in the bar?
no, absolutely not.
You seen any employees getting arrested for dealing drugs outside of the
Absolutely not.
bar? Okay. Has the health department been in there while you were there?
Yes.
Have you ever had trouble with the health department?
Nope. Actually, I keep a very tight bar. I make sure everything is sanitized and clean. I follow all the regulations, and we pass at a 96, 97 every time they come in.
So you guys are a grade A establishment, then.
Absolutely.
And you've complied with all the COVID regulations?
Yes. Everybody got to wear a mask. When they're coming in the bar, no hoodies, no weapons, no paraphernalia, no drugs.
When people come in, do they have to wear a mask?
Yes, they do. When they sit down to drink their beverage, they can, take the mask off. But if they're gonna play pool or move around, they have to wear their mask.
Can you explain to the panel what Safe Certified means?
Yes, I am certified to serve safe food to customers and patrons that come to the bar. It's a certification that I have to, keep frozen food, cross contamination, hot food away from cold food. The utensils have to be clean and sanitized every time we use gloves, so on and so forth.
Now, we've heard testimony about a rule for the bar that anybody comes in has got to pay $2.
Yes, the bar is an establishment. It's not a hangout. So we try to require people to buy something to drink or have something to eat if they're gonna come into the bar and play pool. It's not just to come and sit down because we have expenses, toilet papers and napkins and cups. It's all money that my boss has to dish out of his pocket. So we try to charge people when they come in to buy something, encourage people to buy something when they come in.
If somebody came in to use the bathroom, would you?
The bathroom is for customers only. So that's what I tried. That's the rule that I try to, follow. My boss says that nobody's just gonna come out of the street to use the bathroom, because if they hang out in the parking lot, they try to come in and use the bathroom and we're trying to stop that, eliminate that from coming into the bar.
Okay, now we've also heard testimony about a magnetic lock on the door. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware of that. I use it frequently because the parking lot has such a profuse hangout out there. I don't know specifically what they're doing, but I have a good idea of what they're doing. And when the cops come, or when there's a trouble or somebody's getting into a fight out there, they try to run into the bar. And we try to keep the bar a safe place. So when that sort of stuff happens, I put the magnet on the door so they won't come into the bar and bring all that stuff into the bar. Because there is a working class people, there are elderly people, there are people that want to be safe in the bar. So I try to keep that area safe for them.
Would you describe the Grand Cafe as a local bar?
It is a local bar. I have customers that come in every day, so I know exactly what they want when they come in the bar. As soon as I see them pull up, well, now they're not pulling up into the parking lot too much, but when they do, I already know what they're going to drink, so I already have their drink ready for them, their beer or sandwich or whatever that they normally get.
Okay, so you have a regular clientele.
I do have a regular clientele, yes.
So
very, very respectable people. They're not drug dealers or anything like that. They're working people that when they get out of work, they want to come watch a sports game or play a game of pool and socialize with their friends.
So you're pretty familiar with who's coming in and going out.
Absolutely.
So you'd know if somebody was out of place.
I do. And I try to, you know, make sure that if somebody is out of place, that they're gonna be out the door.
Okay, if there's trouble inside the bar, what do you do?
I have to get them out immediately. So I have to, you know, play that part. I got a lot of hats to wear when I'm a bartender, you know.
Okay, do you check IDs?
I do check IDs. I do not, you know, sell anything to any underage, you know, underage people. I make sure that they have their identification.
Just a moment.
Mhm.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about activities in the parking lot. Do those people have anything at all to do with the Grand Cafe?
No,
Are they patrons?
they're not patrons. They're actually annoying because this is outside of the bar every day from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And, you know, it's just, the customers are slowly not coming to the bar because of that hangout out there. We want to get rid of that, you know.
Now, with regards to the bathroom, was it also locked?
The bathrooms are locked. I have to give a key.
So they got to come to you to ask
They
for a
have
key.
to come to me, yes.
So somebody couldn't just walk in and not buy something.
Nope, they have to come see me before anything.
Have you ever missed a paycheck while you're there?
Nope, my boss is always on time with my paycheck. He's a very good boss. I can't ask for more. You know, he's very, very.
And this is your job, right? This is what you use to put food on the
This
table.
is my job. This is my livelihood. Yes.
Okay. Besides the occasional belligerent drunk or the bar activity, have you seen any other criminal activity in the place? Any drug dealing, anything like that?
Well, I haven't seen it with my eyes because, you know, I'm very busy moving around. So if there is something happening, I can't catch it, you know, but that's normal, you know. But I haven't seen anything like that in that bar.
So they would be ejected if that was the case.
Absolutely. That's why we have the bar backs and we have, you know, other employees there to help me out.
Now, during your time as a bartender at the Grand Cafe, have you ever contacted the police?
Yes, I have, and numerous times. The police, I'll give them my name, and there's no police reports because they don't come. And when they do come, everybody leaves, so there's nothing to write on a report because there's nobody there. You know, they take their time to get there.
Okay.
So, I mean, yesterday there was a fender bender. They were there in 2 seconds. You know, when I call them to get these people out the parking lot for loitering, they take their time. Sometimes they don't even pick up my phone call.
So you call the police and
I get no answer. I even spoke to one of the dispatchers and I told them that, you know, we need a police officer to take these kids out of the parking lot, and they hung the phone up on me.
Okay. Again, to the best of your knowledge, you've never seen anyone dealing, or you've never seen any employee or patron dealing drugs in the Grand Cafe?
I'm the main employee there, and I do not deal drugs.
Nothing further.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
I have a couple questions, and this one might be more suited to one of the owners, but you know, you are there and you said you're the primary employee. Mr. Welsh testified before you that he's volunteered for the last few months to work the door to wand people and check IDs. Can you describe what kind of security there is in addition to that in terms of other people monitoring the door and what other security measures are taken?
Well, during the day, it's me, the co-owner, and the bar back. So we're mainly the security in the daytime there. So we make sure that everything is safe, and we make sure everybody that comes in is safe to be in the bar. And we card everybody that looks young, you know. So we take all the safety precautions in the daytime. At night, we have the volunteer who's wanding and carding at the door because it's a little bit of different crowd at night, you know, than the daytime.
Okay, are you ever there during the day, during the evening?
When I'm off at 6, I like to go home and rest. So Sometimes I sit and have a beer too. So, you know, I get to see a little bit of the night crowd, you know, see a little bit younger people, so.
Okay, and do you wand during the day or check IDs at the door during the day, or is it?
It's
just-
not necessary because it's a working class. It's more, you know, middle-aged people where I know they're not gonna come in with guns and knives, and you know, it's people that are regulars there, everyday regular people that come in every day after work.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Boletto, do you have any questions?
Sure. How would someone get into the basement to put anything on a ledge or a windowsill or store something in the facility if they were trying to?
There is a door there that goes down to the basement where we gotta get the ice, where the bar back has to get the ice for our wells. So that door is continuously open. There's no lock on the door, like, you know, permanent lock. So if I'm not watching and somebody can just open the door and throw something in there, they see the cops are coming in or whatever. I mean, you know, I can't explain, but I would think that's how probably something got down there.
And how long have you been working there?
I've been there for 5 years now, going on 5 years.
And you said you've called the police department yourself, or you've had
Yes, sir.
called your boss to call the police department?
I've called them myself. I've given them my name. I've called myself. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner McKinney?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Perez, for being here.
Thank
So you usually get off work at 6 p.m., is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and you had mentioned that you see the same customers every day. And at one point, I think you said you could even see them pull up to the lot and you know what drink a certain person likes.
Yes.
But then you said they don't do that much anymore. What did you mean by that? Can you expand on that?
Yes, because of the hangout in the parking lot. These kids just run up to the cars and ask them, you know, what do they need, what do they want, and it's getting out of hand. So I'm even scared to go out there after my job because of that, you know. And, I mean, those kids are not in the bar. They're all outside in the parking lot, and the customers are starting to, you know, get a little scarce.
So, yeah. So are you seeing some of your regulars not come back to the bar?
They still come, but you know, less. You know, so sometimes they come every day, but now they're coming every other day, every 2 days. You know, so because of the hangout in the parking lot.
And so have your regular customers specifically told you that the activity in the parking lot is the reason why they're not there as much?
They haven't told me that, you know, face to face, but I can make that out. You know what I mean? I can assume.
Okay. And you had mentioned that you see sort of the same people at the bar every day.
Every day.
Do you see the same people in the parking lot every day?
Yes.
And do any of those people come in and out of the bar?
No.
During your time there?
We don't allow them in the bar. We're trying to get rid of those kids.
Okay. And my last question is, you had mentioned
I'm sorry, half of them are not even of age to come in the bar.
Okay. And you had mentioned that sometimes, you know, maybe after work, you might stay around a little bit, but you had said that the nighttime crowd was different.
Yeah, it's a younger crowd.
Okay. And so if you're leaving at 6, can you tell me how you know what the nighttime crowd is like and why it's different?
Well, I've stayed there and drank a few cups, you know, a few beers and stuff. So, you know, my age, younger people. And in the daytime, it's older people. It's, you know, like any establishment. Like in the daytime, people come from work on their lunch break, and you know, at night, it's, you know, the hip hop crowd. You know, I want to say.
I wouldn't be familiar with that, but I think I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Ms. Dubois Walton.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Perez, for being here. So your time is from 12 noon to 6 p.m. has been clear. And you made it very clear that you're wearing a lot of hats. You're the bartender, but you also said that you make sure there's no paraphernalia, no drugs coming in.
Yes.
How were you able to make that? No one's on the door, it sounds like, from during your shift. How would you possibly enforce that no drugs or paraphernalia come in during the time you're working?
Well, you can tell who's who, right? Like, I mean, I can personally look at someone and say, well, maybe that guy's not too safe, or maybe, it's just by eye or by body language, by, that's what I'm trying to say. I could tell who's who, and by body language, or that something's not right with that person. You understand?
So your security from 12 to 6 is by looking at people and determining whether they are of age, whether they're carrying paraphernalia or drugs.
Absolutely, but keeping a sharp eye on everything.
Were you working on around October 12th, 13th, when the establishment was raided and found to have underage drinkers in possession of a handgun?
I was not there, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay. How are you familiar with it?
Because I am a bartender there, and I heard what had happened. And they weren't at the bar; they were away from the bar, and they were eating. So it was all a misunderstanding, and the weapon was found outside. It wasn't found inside of the bar.
How would underage people get into the bar, given the system that you're just describing of your ability to look at people and determine whether they should be there or not?
We also serve food. We don't only sell alcohol. So they were sitting away from the bar, and they were with an adult.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm muted here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was muted. Okay. Introduce yourself to the panel, please.
My name's Michael A. Kiefer,
Where do you live, Mr. Kiefer?
144 Exchange Street, the next street over.
Is that in New Haven,
Yes, it is.
in the Fairhaven district?
Right.
Since you're familiar with the Fairhaven area of New Haven, can you describe it to the panel?
What part? All of Fairhaven?
All of Fairhaven.
Yeah, people talk bad about it. It's really not as bad as they say. Could be doing better. A lot of good people. And yeah, it could get rough, especially late nights. I know a lot of late nights, 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
Is that specific to the area of the Grand Cafe, or is that the whole of?
All of Fairhaven. All of New Haven, as a matter of fact.
Now, you work for the Grand Cafe, correct?
Yes, I do. Approximately 13 years now.
And you are the manager, correct?
Correct. The last year and a half.
What are your hours?
My hours are usually 6. I bartend too, so I work from 6 to close every night but Friday night.
You're wearing a lot of hats there, correct?
Yeah, don't we all?
What sort of things do you do? What are your duties?
Bartends, take care of paperwork, order liquor, throw people out.
So
About it.
you're there till close?
Yep.
6 evenings a week?
Yep.
Okay.
And I lock up every night, so I have to come back on Friday nights too.
So you've got the keys and you lock up the establishment.
Exactly.
And you also handling the money and make sure the liquor is taken care of, that kind of thing, making sure the place is stocked.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Do some of the maintenance,
I believe you do some of the maintenance. What sort of maintenance do you do?
whatever needs to be fixed. Things get broken, things break down. I had to make all the panels for when we closed for COVID. So everything costs money.
During COVID, were you there?
Yeah.
When you were
Making-
shut down?
Yep,
What were you doing?
making repairs, replaced the floor, revamped behind the bar, got rid of all the old cabinets and stuff, put in new ones.
Were you also ensuring compliance with COVID regulations?
Yes, we were.
What did you guys do to do that?
We had to put up the plexiglass panels all the way around the bar, put up all the signs, pretty much clean up the place. So And we passed that. They came and inspected it. The health department did. We went by their codes.
You ever had any trouble with the health department?
Nope,
You ever had any trouble with your liquor permit before this?
nope. It was the first year ever.
How would you describe the clientele during your,
Most of it, I've been hanging there for approximately 30 years. I've met a lot of people. They're all middle class, good people. They bring their kids in to say hi once in a while. Some people come in, open every holiday, 365 days that bar is open.
would you describe this as like a neighborhood watering hole?
Oh yeah,
Do you have a regular clientele?
definitely, constantly. They've been going there for some of them just as long as I have.
So you kind of know who's coming in and going out there.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Could you describe the atmosphere of the Grand Cafe?
As far as I'm concerned, it's fine. I mean, people complain, but the atmosphere is, I mean, people come in, they enjoy themselves, they listen to music, we play pool.
Yeah.
I mean, outside, what goes on outside, I ain't happy what goes on outside, but it's not my job to control what goes on outside.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, inside the bar, are there televisions?
Just 3 of them,
Okay.
2 video games, pool table. Actually, 3 video games now.
With regards to the pool, who's the local champion?
Me,
People
I'm the
can-
best in there.
Now, with regards to people inside the bar, have you ever seen anybody dealing narcotics in the bar, a patron or employee?
No,
Have you ever had to remove people from the bar?
yes, preferably not physically, you grab them by an arm, escort them to the door, and that's it. If there is a big problem, yes, I will call the cops. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, you've called the police?
I have, in this year, twice. Once to remove a young lady, and another time for a gentleman, which was getting out of hand, and I'm not dealing with it.
Did the police come?
Yes.
And they removed the individual from the bar?
Correct.
Now, we've heard some testimony about the $2 minimum.
Okay,
We'll describe it. What's that about?
all right, the $2 minimum was made up a few years back, because it's, well, maybe more than that. It's really simple. Everything costs money. Paper towels, napkins, straws, okay? I have to pay for that plexiglass around that bar at $108 a sheet. Okay, so everything costs money. It's not a hangout. My boss does not pay me to babysit people. Nobody does. Nobody wants to babysit everybody else's kids. Even though they're adults, they're still kids. So it's simple. $2. I've even charged somebody $1 for a straw. I mean, you want to keep coming in, breaking them off on me, I don't get paid for that. I have kids, I know it's like, some customers, they could be a little unruly, but that's the reason for the $2. It's not a hangout. I mean, I'm not paid to babysit. My boss is not going to pay me to babysit.
Okay, so you charge people $2 and they get what in return?
They get a soda, juice. One time I even had milk. Okay. I mean, I even thought about selling coffee too, because I'll drink that. But
Is that
that's not the only thing to sell. We got beers, liquors, drinks.
but the rule is they have to purchase
Somebody,
something.
yeah, have to purchase something, you can't come in. We had to put padlocks, deadbolts on the bathroom doors. Yeah, you have to get a key from the bartender now. And it's a pain in the ass, excuse my language, but it is. Because that's more work for us to do. And then you gotta chase that person for the key. So yeah, we have our hands full, but it's not that bad of a place.
Now, I've heard some testimony, or we've heard some testimony about a magnet lock on the door. Could you
Yes.
tell the commission?
That
what that's
magnet
about?
lock's been on there since I started working there. It's probably been on there before that. We've upgraded it. Yes, it's there for a reason. At night when I close, last call's at 12:30 if we close at 1:30 if we close at 2. Now, of course, everybody wants to come in last minute, so they want to check. No, the magnet goes on, the lights go off at last call, music goes off. Magnet goes on for one reason, and that is to keep everybody from keep flowing in. Okay, because and then I got to watch everybody. Then they want to take their drinks. I was like, no. Okay, yeah, some people escape. You can't eyeball everything. Okay, Thursdays, Fridays, to Saturdays, yes, we have security. They usually start around 9 o'clock. From 7 o'clock till about 9:30, 10 is a lull. People go home, eat, do whatever. Yes, the younger crowd comes in. Magnet also goes on when there was a shooting in the parking lot. Oh, yeah, Magnet went right on. And I'm sorry for the people that got locked out, but I can't allow people with guns running in either, chasing somebody.
So if there's
Yeah.
trouble in the parking lot
Trouble in the parking lot, the magnet's supposed to go on.
and you're one of the people that hits the button,
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned before you contacted the police, correct?
Yes, I have. I don't have a problem with them. They do come. And we try not to call them if there's a little scuffle outside. You already get calls. The lady next door from the smoke shop calls them, the pizza place calls. I mean, we all do our part.
Okay.
And sometimes you can't see that scuffle outside either. It's down the other end of the plaza, closer to Grand Avenue. We can't see them all.
So you can't see the whole parking lot from
No,
the bar.
just directly in front of the bar, a little bit on each side.
If somebody's walking up to the door though, you can see.
Oh, I
them,
can see them, yeah.
Okay. So you're pretty familiar with most of the people that come in there?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, you work the evening shift, correct?
Correct,
So you're coming on when Ephraim's coming off.
correct.
How would you describe the crowd when you get there?
When I get there, it's some of the people from the day, they go like middle of the afternoon to middle of the evening, then they go home. They come in with their wives. We all hang out together. It's not, like I said, it's not a big bad place like everybody makes it out to be. I hear a lot of stuff about Fairhaven. Ours is not the only bar. Ours is not the only place to get bad mouths, but we have our little issues, but we
Okay.
can't correct them all. And if we ain't getting no help,
In your time at the Grand Cafe as an employee of the Grand Cafe, have you ever seen an employee get arrested for dealing drugs in the Grand Cafe?
never,
Have you ever heard of an employee get arrested outside of the Grand Cafe for dealing drugs?
never.
Now, the people in the parking lot that are doing that behavior, are they involved with the Grand Cafe in any way?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. And
I
they
mean,
not,
have they come in? Yes, a few have. Now the new rule is because they don't want to go by the rules, it's really simple. You want to get troublemakers? Certain people that we know are doing it are not allowed in that bar.
okay, so
And the cops have already talked to them, okay? And the cops got their hands full too. I mean, our hands are tied.
so
It's either they get arrested and go away and that'll get rid of them, but the state legalized marijuana, but they didn't legalize it to sell it, but they don't understand that because they are younger. So,
you guys don't patrol the parking lot, right?
no,
You don't provide security in the parking lot?
we used to go out front and clear people away, but then it escalates, gets to arguments. And we can't keep calling the cops every 5 seconds.
So,
And I'm not gonna put my life on the line either.
so you've been threatened? when
Oh,
you
yeah.
do that?
Oh, more than a few times.
And you live in the neighborhood,
I
right?
live, like I said, next street over on Exchange Street.
Now, we heard there was a raid recently. Were you there?
Which one?
The one in 2021,
Okay, well, I mean, when
in
the,
September.
since the cops came in, not the
Yeah.
liquor commission. Yeah, I was there. I was
Okay.
on the other side of the bar having a beer.
Were 2 people found, underage drinkers found
No,
there?
that was the second one. That
That
was when the
was-
liquor commission came in.
That was when the liquor commission
Right.
came. Now, were narcotics or any paraphernalia found at that raid?
Nope.
Were you at the second raid as well?
Yep.
Okay, so the only thing they found in there was these underage drinkers.
Correct.
How many were there?
I believe 2
Were
that I
they,
seen that the cops were talking to.
were they sitting at the bar?
No, they were sitting at a table in the back.
So did they come in to drink or did they come in to eat?
Oh, I don't know when I got there. I left, but don't forget, I don't work till 6, but that night I wasn't working. That's a Friday night.
Now, if you're in there working, and you see somebody who's had a few too many to drink, what do you do?
You shut them off, first of all, and then you tell them, well, after that, you gotta go. If they can't drive, we'll take their keys. I brought home 5 cars in one night to my driveway because that's how close I am with some of my customers. I don't have a problem taking away keys. We've taken their keys, call them Uber, a cab, I give them paid for cabs. There's a lot of good people that go to that bar. You're gonna get these transits to come in every once in a while. Yes, there's no doubt about it. There's a lot of new people moving into the neighborhood too, I noticed.
While you've been at the Grand Cafe, have narcotics ever been found inside the bar?
One customer years ago, I don't remember the exact year, like I said, time flies. Another person with marijuana maybe, but you can't frisk them, but you can't accuse nobody. Okay, because that's profiling, correct? So,
Now,
I mean, but they're not employees, they're not my friends either.
you mentioned that you have security on Friday, Saturday.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, those are the busiest nights. Okay. Most of us are all friends, we know each other. A lot of us look out for each other. So if we think there's a problem, or you could see a bulge in somebody's jacket, yeah. I mean, wintertime's tough. The summertime, no. And a lot of these younger kids are all carrying guns, but no.
What does the security do on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? What is
They want people, they actually pat them down. Some people don't like it, but they don't have a choice, otherwise they're not coming in. But plain and simple. I would have signed the door. No attitudes, no weapons, that's it. Don't like it, come see the manager. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I can't threaten people every day.
Understood. Now, again, you don't have anything to do with what's going on in the parking lot.
No.
Have you ever called the police with regards to that?
Went a couple times when they, for instance, a lot of times the cops are sitting right there. I waved them over, you know, this guy, you can't come in the bar, he won't let, yes. I mean,
Okay.
for the last 5-6 weeks now, the whole front of the bar has been empty, clean. They don't hang out in front of the bar. You talk to them, the cops are there, that's it. You stay out of our space, we don't bother you. The cops are sitting there, the cops will take care of them. Little by little, I think the cops can get them all in one shot, so.
So the police have been there the last few weeks.
They've been there for months.
Now, with
last few
regards
weeks.
to the protest, did that activity in the parking lot slow down?
Of
or
course it
anything?
ceased. As soon as they folded up their tables and chairs, though, they were right back in the parking lot. Somewhere you were stupid enough to try and sneak in when the cops were sitting right there too. They got nailed. Like I said, that's not. Have some of these guys manipulated in the bar? Yeah, probably. But now they're all barred. If that's what you want to do with your life and you want to keep screwing up our business, you got to stay out. And yeah, they threatened me about that too because they were all barred. So that's their problem.
You've gotten threatened?
Of course.
With physical harm?
Yeah. Oh, they're gonna beat me up. I know where you live. Go ahead.
Nothing.
I'm not
further.
folding up my house and my life and running. No, the cops will take care of them. No problem.
Nothing further.
Okay, I have a few questions. Can you describe on a typical night how many patrons you have in the bar?
On a typical night, on like you're saying a weekend, a busy night?
Both.
Both? Okay. During the week, it fluctuates. Mondays are slower. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Then it gets a little busier. I'd say on average, during the week, except for the busier nights, maybe 25, 30 people. On a good night, maybe 40. It's not a big, huge bar. So it's not like you need hands-on security. And by the way, when it comes to security, if we needed that much security every day, I wouldn't even work there. It's not worth all the hassles. It's not.
Okay,
We
then
probably wouldn't have half the customers we have either.
on a typical Thursday, Friday, Saturday, when you do have security, how many people are usually there?
A little busier, like at 11 o'clock. That's the younger crowd. They go home, get their babysitters, do whatever. I've been there, like I said, I've been hanging there a long time too. And I know what it's like in my younger years. Yeah, you get the younger out, and they come from other clubs. They come down there. That's another reason for the padlocks and the $2. 6 girls come in, they all want to go to the ladies' room. Nobody buys a drink. So they're just tying up the ladies' room, then starting arguments. So yeah, our hands are full, but yeah, on that night, maybe max, maybe 50. It's not a big bar. And if they're not hanging out, if they're just hanging out, we push them out the door. They can't stay.
And how long have you had the policy that you have to go to a bartender to get a key to the bathroom?
That started place probably about almost 2 years now. Yes, the locks got broken, then they lose the keys. That's another problem, but yeah.
Okay.
Almost 2 years. And some people we don't really enforce it, especially like during the day. We try to, but it can be monotonous too. You spend more time handing out the key. But unfortunately, we shouldn't even have to do that, but unfortunately we do.
And I think you just testified that you take away the keys of people who've had too much to drink, and
I do, yes.
one particular night you took the keys of about 5 people. Is that correct?
Correct. And I have 5 cars in my driveway. Okay. These are all my customers. They're good friends of mine. Not because they asked me to. One's wife picked him up. The other one took a cab. So what are they going to do with the other car now?
But don't you think there's a problem if you have people drinking to that extent?
I didn't say they were that drunk. Like I said, one's wife picked it up. I've seen people walk through the door, not even buy a drink in our place, and we don't serve them. And we got a do not serve sheet at Liquor Commission we're supposed to have. You cannot. I mean, all you got to do is write down the information, what they were wearing. Because God forbid something happens to them, we're going to get blamed.
Are your bartenders trained?
Yeah, we had to take a safety course.
Okay. And one last question, you know, all been testifying about, you know, the issues in the parking lot. What do you think attracts so much illegal activity to that location?
Well, the sale of marijuana, the actual use of marijuana, because you're allowed to smoke from what I was told, because I have talked to a couple officers, okay? I do talk to them, not even just at the bar, even on my street, okay? Because marijuana is so easy to get a hold of now, even though they're not supposed to be selling it, the smoke shop next door, 75% of the products they sell is for one reason, drugs, okay? Now, they want to go get a wrap with Dutch. I don't know how many of you all know about this, but I mean, you watch TV, you hear about it all the time. Wraps, Dutch's, cigarettes, chips, soda. Okay, so they stand out in front of it because they know these customers need that for their weed, so they're going to sell them more weed. And it's a regular thing out there every day. Every day.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner McKinney, do you have any questions?
Yeah, thank you for being here. I believe it was Mr. Perez who works there as well, gets off at 6. He had
Correct.
mentioned that he sees the same people, and we've heard this from a number of people, that sort of regular customers. He's there more during the daytime. Do you see the same people at night as well? Is it sort of the same regular?
As his customers?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, just different. The people you see at night, are they the same people who come several
Yes,
times a
some are
week?
regular customers, yes.
Yeah.
Consistently, constantly. Like I said, some of them start during the day in the late afternoon, and then they'll stay till like 8 o'clock. I mean, so, you know, we both have the same customers. Now, I said, I see newer customers in there, because I do go in there during the day too. Don't forget, I'm the manager, right? So I go in there during the day, do paperwork sometimes, just talk to people. I got friends there, see what's going on. Kind of yell at Mr. Perez when he messes something up, but yeah.
He mentioned that some of his regulars maybe don't come every day, maybe every other day, and that some of the activity, he believes, he didn't speak to them directly, but his assumption is that some of his regulars don't come as much because of the activity in the parking lot. Do you see the activity in the parking lot as hurting the business?
Yes, it's hurting all the businesses. Another problem about it's not just it's the way they park. My customers get upset when they go out the car, they got to go home or go pick up their kid. They can't. Even the ones at night, they're double parked. The cops do try to help out. They do come in there, but technically they all argue with the cops and they argue with us. It's private property. Technically, that's what we were told. Okay. So therefore, now they're double parked. We're getting less customers because it's hurting us all.
And you've worked there, I know you're the manager now, but you've worked there, you said, for 13 years?
Approximately 13 years, yeah.
Okay, so that seems to coincide, right, with when Mr. Rivera owned the place since 2008. But you were there previously, you were a customer at the location before it was a Grand Cafe,
Oh, yeah.
is that true?
Yes, I was, yeah. I tell you, I've been hanging out there. I did a lot of work in Fairhaven. That's how I found the bar. I used to do construction, start my own business. So I did a lot of work in Fairhaven.
And can you pick describe for me what it was like 20 years ago? Were there problems in the parking lot?
No. When
did the problems start, roughly?
Roughly, I'd have to say when the problems in the parking lot start. Roughly about 9 years, and it's gotten worse. The last 2 years have been hell. So,
I mean,
it's you're always gonna find somebody on the corner trying to sell you something somewhere.
Right. Do you have any kind of a guess as to or thought as to why in the last 2 years it's gotten so much worse?
The smoke shop. See, what happened to smoke shop is they got new owners too. So a lot of them used to crowd in there, meet the customer in there. Now that they got new owners, they put up bulletproof glass. That's how scared they are. And half of them ain't even allowed in their store no more either. The same ones are not allowed in the bar no more either. I mean, so, and that's another reason why the cops, they got their hands full. I feel sorry for the police department because she was calling them like every 10 minutes. It was disgusting.
She being the previous smoke shop owner?
Huh?
Who was calling the cops every 10 minutes?
The smoke shop owner.
Okay. The previous one or the new one?
No, the newest one. The previous one would call the cops, but they were guys. See, now that a female runs it and thinks she's one of the owners, okay? So they gave her a lot of crap.
They being the people out in the parking lot.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Commissioner Boletto? You're on mute.
I guess this kind of screams for the answer is, if it's private property outside in the parking lot and it seems to be the smoke shop that's causing havoc, and if I was the one getting the, basically not blamed for it, but people were looking at me as the culprit of the issues, wouldn't you have that discussion with the landlord? And
Yeah.
have you had it with the landlord? And
We've had discussions with the landlord. We've had discussions with landlords of fixing the pothole. But I mean, everybody's hands are tied. Even I'm sure the other businesses all complained to the landlord too. But they allowed it. There was one year before. They're still there. Okay. And it's gotten worse. And I'm sure all the other smoke shop people are hanging out in front of those too. I don't know what to tell you. All I know is the bar shouldn't be blamed for everything. Yes, we have our little issues here and there. But the shooting had nothing to do with us. Okay. And like I said, I felt sorry that night when I put the magnet on. But the problem is we can't have people with guns chasing somebody else that started in the parking lot, running into our bar, injuring my customers. It's wrong, or myself.
No, I clearly
Okay.
understand.
Now, as for the smoke shop and the landlord, yes, I'm sure the landlord said something, and that's why they put up the new cameras. Don't forget, it's gotten worse. The last 2 years, it's gotten worse and worse and worse.
Right, but wouldn't you say that as a major tenant in that complex? Wouldn't you hold the landlord or try to hold the landlord somewhat responsible for
And
clearing
like
the
I said,
parking
we
lot?
have, we've contacted them. My job is not to talk to her. I talk to my boss, he talks to her. I know he's complained to her. They talk about it, but you can't do everything overnight.
Okay. You said that you put locks on or deadbolts on the bathrooms.
Yes.
And the previous, one of the previous speakers, I'm sorry, had said that the door where supposed drug paraphernalia was found on the ledge is still open and still accessible to the basement of the facility. Why would you not put a lock on that door?
Okay. Actually, we have several times, but unfortunately, my coworkers, I've never lost one. But my coworkers lose the key, they misplace it. So you put another lock on. Then let's see, that's one. We had the same thing problem with dumpsters, but yeah, it is open because it is an inconvenience. You got buckets of ice shit coming up, and another problem is people like to play jokes, and some customers are idiots. They'll put the lock through it, not knowing that you're downstairs with buckets of ice. You come up now, what do you do? So yeah, the lock should be on there. You're absolutely right. But like I said, I've already put 3 locks on there already.
Okay. And
I
last-
don't know when that incident happened because I'm familiar with the business. Like I said, I do the maintenance. And where'd they find that stuff?
I don't recall exactly. I might have been 17. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
It was a police report. It was from the last. I've not re-looked at that yet. I will soon though.
How come they didn't
might
tell
be
us? How come
wrong.
they didn't tell us about that? That's what I can't figure out. Why
Well,
didn't they tell us about they found that stuff?
Because I've never heard anybody having a police report filed against them and not going to get it or read it. So
Okay,
I
true.
think if they read it, they would have certainly saw that. However, my last question, I guess, is you also seem to take very lightly you're the manager and the two
Only
minor.
for the last year and a half, maybe now.
The
But,
two
yeah,
minor,
go ahead.
well, this falls under you then. The 2 minors that were found drinking in the bar, even though they were sitting at tables with food, you seem to take that very lightly. Like that was a light issue and it was just.
No,
really
I don't
two
take
kids.
that lightly. I
Okay.
don't, believe me. Because I talked to one of the gentlemen from the liquor commission that night when they wanted to check the basement out. And I asked him, I said, well, can't minors come into a bar or an establishment that sells liquor and eat food? And even though they're underage, as long as they were an adult. Now, I was told when this first happened, like I said, I was only there for like 3 minutes. I left, I came back to have a beer, meet a couple friends there. And I was sitting there and they came by me. Next thing you know, they were talking to 2 young ladies. I look over, it's like, where'd they come from? Oh, Mike, they were sitting over there. Okay, but they were with an adult. And I thought that was okay by the law, the standards. Okay, I'm not sure. That's what I was told. So I talked to a gentleman downstairs when they looked through the basement. They told me, yeah, but the problem is because it's so close to the bar, that might be ruled out. So I don't know. I didn't get no paperwork on any fines or anything yet either. So I mean, I do what I can. No, I don't take that lightly. I don't take people shooting people in the parking lot, or even my own customers fighting in the bar, or people that have to break them off of me every night. I keep telling them, put your mask on, put your mask on, put your mask on. That's not, I mean, yeah, it's tough. But like any other business, we all go through this. Unfortunately,
Got it.
this has gotten a little out of hand, especially the crap outside.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Dubois, Walton, do you have questions?
Yes, just also on the raid that's just being discussed by Commissioner Boletto, where the underage patrons were found in the bar. Are you aware also that the 19-year-old was carrying a handgun and was found with a handgun in the bar?
I didn't know about him being found with a handgun. I know he came in approximately like, well, within that time frame. This all happened in like seconds. Like I said, I just gotten back. I just sat down, but I'm aware of him, but I wasn't aware that, and they didn't even tell me that either. I know, listen, they don't have to tell me nothing. We never got any police reports either. So I understand it's under investigation. So no, I wasn't aware that he had a handgun. He
Okay,
came in supposedly looking for those two girls.
got it. That also was in the
Listen,
local.
that's what I was told by the police officer.
Okay, okay. So thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
No other questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to recall Mr. Jose Rivera for a brief question.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rivera, was there a time that a police officer worked the door at
Yes,
the Grand Cafe? When was that?
I say 2010, 11. Around there.
Would you be willing to do that again?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Have you considered doing that? And
Yes.
why did you stop in 2010, 2011?
Because I mean, there was no more hanging out the way it is right now.
Okay, and I've been trying to kind of get a handle on your security procedures and your policies and who's there and who's doing what. I just, it kind of is glaring that you haven't considered having a police officer there. You've had one in the past. Why haven't you done it now?
Because in the beginning, there was a lot of trouble. So when we put the cop there, the trouble went down. So I decided not to have him there any longer. And now it's getting worse. So I'm deciding to put him back in there in the parking lot. And it will start from 9 to closing.
Okay, thank you.
If I might, just a follow-up question on that.
Yes, please.
That costs money, is that correct?
Yes,
And you guys are just coming out of COVID, or maybe a little short.
yes.
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners Boletto or McKinney, do you have any final questions for Mr. Rivera?
No, not this time. Thank you.
Actually, the question I had was, when the police officer was working the door, was he also responsible for the parking lot?
Well, actually, he wasn't working the door. He just parks in the parking lot and watches every day. If any trouble goes on, he'll notice.
Okay,
He's
so
he's not working the door
okay, so you
He
paid
just-
to have a police officer in the parking lot.
in the parking lot itself.
Okay, and the testimony, I think you said, and everyone who works there has said that when the police come to the parking lot, people scatter,
They
and when the
scatter.
police aren't there, people come there.
Yes,
So is it your belief that if there was a police officer stationed in the parking lot, that these people would go away?
yes, but I can't just have a police officer all day to keep these people away. That's going to cost me a lot of money. I'm just trying to do it at nighttime to have people go home safe. That's what I'm trying to do.
And when you were paying for the police officer, were the other tenants in that strip mall, or for lack of a better term, the other tenants who were there, whether it was a smoke shop or somebody testified that there's a place called the Chinese Walk next door, were they participating in?
No, they weren't.
Okay. Have you talked to them about whether their businesses are also being negatively impacted by the people in the parking lot?
Yes, I had to walk one. I mean, the Golden Walk. I was talking to the owner, and he said his business is going now. And he actually kicks these people out of there. I mean, the parking lot's full. Okay. Once we open, the parking lot's full. There's only 3 people in the bar, and people can't even go inside the Golden Walk to get their Chinese food. There's no parking, you know?
And who, so just to go back, who owns the parking lot? The landlord who owns the building?
The landlord. She lives in New York.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Do you have an opinion as to why there are so many problems in this particular parking lot?
Marijuana.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dubois Walton, do you have anything final?
No.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Actually, before you leave, I just do have one question, just to clarify this so I understand it. Your attorney said asked you if you were willing to have a police officer work the door. I think the gentleman earlier said work the door is all night long, wanding people and working the door. So that would be like from 6 to 1, I guess, when you close. Now you're saying that it would cost you a lot of money to do that, and you're only worried about people leaving at night. So what is the answer? Are you proposing that you're willing to do this from 6 to 1 on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as you have security now? Or is it you're saying that you're?
No, the security will be there regardless if the cops still gonna be on the parking lot. Security should still be inside.
How long will the cops be in the parking lot, and what times are you thinking?
I said from 9 to closing.
From 9 to closing, okay. All right, so, okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay, that's the sum and substance of our case.
Oh,
Thank you. We'll give you both the opportunity to make closing arguments or statements. I'll start with you, Ms. Dubois Walton.
Thank you. We appreciate, on behalf of the many neighbors in this community that's been described in many different ways on this hearing, but it's a diverse community, working and middle class community, and a community of people who really love the Fairhaven neighborhood. This establishment sits on East Pearl Street, which, other than this plaza, is a completely residential community with homes, homeowners, renters, and a church. It is immediately adjacent to schools, to daycare centers, and to other establishments. It is a beautiful and wonderful community that is being harmed, as you have heard through our testimony, by the presence of an establishment that has failed for too long to take responsibility for its impact in the community. You have heard from the district manager, from representatives of the business community, from the elected officials who represent this area and the adjacent area, that there has been little to no effort by the owners to engage in any collaborative way to address the issues that are central to the case that's been put on in front of you. You have heard not only testimony of what's happening in the parking lot, but you have also heard testimony of things that have happened inside the bar. You have heard, you have been asked to believe both that this is simply a neighborhood bar of working class people, and yet at the same time, the owners admit that the bar requires them to install magnets and to have deadbolts on the bathrooms. In an establishment that they claim they have great control over who comes in and out. Why the need for deadbolts in the bathroom? There clearly are problems that are emanating in and of this establishment. The security measures that have been spoken about are clearly inadequate. They have started far too late, and they seem to rely on well-meaning friend of the owner and patron of the bar, but someone who is untrained in providing security and who is there for only limited periods of time. The incidents that have happened in this have included numerous cases, a select few of which were brought before you. They are a selection from a long list of police calls for service and reports that have been written. They include numerous calls of drug dealing, drug activity, of assaults, and the very tragic shooting on September 7th that occurred in the parking lot where a gentleman was shot. We expect as a community far more of a response from somebody who wants to be a good business owner in our community than we have received to this point, or even that's being potentially committed to in the course of the testimony today. We have an owner who has been so disinterested that even when we did the work to pull all the reports together and submit them as part of this, chose not even to take the time to read and see what we put under record that's happened at this establishment. That does not leave us with any confidence that this is going to be an owner who is going to take real efforts to create change, to create safety, and to run this establishment in ways that comply with the expectations of the state of Connecticut and the Liquor Commission. We believe this rises to the level of creating the kind of nuisance that is called out in the state statute. It is an establishment that exists within close proximity to other uses that should be protected from this. We have well documented the nuisance activity that happens here and around this establishment. And I believe the testimony today has clearly demonstrated that there have been inadequate efforts to even engage or take any responsibility for creating a solution with the community, with the other store owners, and with the New Haven Police Department. It is for these reasons that numerous community members submitted to you written testimony. It is for that reason that on our last call, numerous residents took time to come on to this Zoom. Residents who are invested in the Fairhaven community, who live, work, play in the Fairhaven community, took their time to come on and testify and ask you as commissioners to hear our plea, to help save this corner of our community by not continuing to allow under your authority the operation of this establishment as it has for this past period of time. I ask that you act upon our request and suspend the liquor license or not renew this liquor license and allow us as a community to reclaim that corner and create what we all want in any place of our community, a safe and enjoyable corner of New Haven. I thank you for your time, and I ask that you act favorably on our request to not renew this license.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Crow.
Thank you. First off, I want to wish everybody happy holidays. Thank you for being here. I want to begin by thanking everyone for being here, and I want to applaud the efforts of Dr. Dubois-Walton. Community leadership is not easy, and those who undertake it deserve to be recognized for that. And thank you to all the people who showed up and testified as well. I want to thank the Liquor Control Commission for their time and attention. I know this has been a long hearing with a lot of detailed testimony, and it's tough. I'd like to thank the politicians for their letter. I'd also like to applaud the people of Fairhaven involved in this movement. Community action is not easy. And instead of waiting for someone else to do something, they've taken action, and they deserve to be recognized for that. However, I'd like to make some points. First off, to the commission, there were lots of police reports submitted. I could go through them one at a time. But as you go through them, please notice how many times exhibit number 1, exhibit number 2, exhibit number 3, exhibit number 4, no arrests were ever made. There's no allegations of employees being involved. Most of the activity is in the parking lot, starting back in 2016. I'd like to note that this is the span of 5 years that these reports have come from, and that my client's liquor permit has been renewed 5 times during that time. So rather than go through every single one, I'll just leave you with that. It's in the record, you can read it for yourselves. With regards to the recent raid on the facility, yes, there were underage drinkers there that seem to be been found. I'd point out that there was no drug activity found there. There were no paraphernalias found, there were no drugs involved. And that seems to be the chief complaint. Everybody agrees the drug activity is in the parking lot. And my client is not in charge of the parking lot. In fact, there are 4 businesses that have access to that parking lot. In fact, the public comes into the parking lot. My clients aren't even responsible for cleaning the parking lot. They're responsible for the bar and everything inside, and they've taken the steps they can to secure those. Reasonable steps. Yes, if they have unlimited funds, there'd be more done, but we're coming out of COVID, it's a tough time. There may not be funds in order to do everything that the community demands right away. Mr. Rivera has met with Lieutenant Fulminati. He's also met with Lieutenant Johnson beforehand. Anything that was requested of him, he's done by the police. Put the magnetic lock on the door. He's taking precautions. They're wanting people as they come in the door. He's doing what he can, what he's been asked to do, which brings me to my next point. To the community members, again, I applaud your action, and I understand and that you perceive a problem and you want to change, and I applaud that. But let me caution you to ensure that your efforts address the problem. I come from a place, it's a long way from here, where we had problems of joblessness, poor education, little to no employment. That added up to tremendous economic pressure in the community, which shattered families, spawned drug use, drove some people into the streets. Into that environment, they were introduced pornographic movie stores, and the community didn't want them. But they were in, it was too late to put a zoning law in. So they turned to a community leader, a local pastor, and said to him, we want these things gone. And the pastor said, okay, I have a plan. Here's what it is. The first thing you're going to do is pray for the owners of those people, of those stores, and pray for the people that frequent them. And then the pastor contacted the owners of the stores and met them, went to them, spoke to them, and said, our community has these issues, these problems. This is what we're worried about. How can we work together on these things? Well, the first gentleman, after speaking with the pastor, closed his store, opened an ice cream store instead. And the pastor said, please frequent the ice cream store. And that business prospered. Another one just closed, moved out of town. The third one stayed open. And the pastor went back to his community and said, well, let's do this. They bought the building. And when the lease came up, they just didn't renew it. But they made sure they addressed the problem, what they were worried about. You have concerns about your community, I understand. The drugs are a concern. The people doing that activity are a concern. Okay, that has to be addressed, and I applaud you for addressing it. While you were there, the drug activity, the sales activity dropped to nothing. I understand you can't be there all the time. But when the community got angry with the pastor for meeting with the people that own those businesses, he answered them, we're trying to build a community. We need all the help we can get. We need all the allies we can get. We need to engage those people and make them our partners. If we close the Grand Cafe for things that happen in the parking lot, maybe you can close the China Walk because people run the stop sign. Okay, there are 4 buildings, there are 4 businesses there. Who do we blame? Heard some theories. but there are technically 4 people there, 4 businesses there we can blame. The people that work, the people that own the building where the Grand Cafe is are members of your community. What will you say to them if you shut this business down and the drug activity continues and you see them on the street? That's a tough question. I understand. Okay, I understand the need to do something. I understand to want to do something. But we need to remember that the impact of closing this doesn't necessarily solve the problem, but it does have an immediate impact on the owner whose business is shut down, on the employees who have no jobs this holiday season, on the owner of the property who will lose the rental income but still have to pay taxes. That impacts your community. And when you've got drug activity in an area and you've got an empty building, what can happen? You members of the community are right to work on this. You're right to work on this. I applaud you. We just want to make sure that our efforts are directed where they belong. The problem is the scourge. The problem is the drugs. The problem is the people in the parking lot dealing the drugs. Closing the Grand Cafe will not necessarily make that happen. I know there's a lot of police reports, a lot of things happen in this area. They're happening outside. The Grand Cafe can only be expected to control what's on the inside. Mr. Rivera and his people, they're there every day. If they call the police, if they get involved with these people, they risk their physical safety every single day. You've heard testimony, they would like it to stop. Other people have the option to avoid this area. Mr. Rivera doesn't. This is where his business is. He cares. They are involved in the community in the ways they are involved. Yes, they didn't know about the business associations and things. They could have educated themselves. There's a lot of things we could say people should and shouldn't have done. We're here right now as a community. And I'd ask the board to remember that as it deliberates on this issue. And I know it's a difficult one. I understand. It's a large burden on the commission. The community has come to them asking for action. I understand the urge to do something. We just want to make sure we do the right thing. We may not want to punish a legitimate legal business owner and his employees for what goes on in the parking lot. Because if that business is gone and that behavior in the parking lot continues, how do we answer? How do we answer? Thank you for your time. I'm praying for you all to be wise. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you. I just want to take the opportunity to thank everyone who's participated over the last, the 2 days that we held this hearing. Thank all the witnesses who testified. The commission will now consider all the testimony and evidence in this hearing and rendering a written decision. And again, we thank you. It is now 3:07 p.m. and this hearing is now closed. Thank you.
And we can't stay on. Is there a way for us to
Thank you.
reconnect?
Thank you. I'll send you